Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular City Council meeting of Titusville on October 23rd, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. We have a quorum. I will call this meeting to order. The invocation tonight will be said by Pastor Garrison of Faith Baptist Church. Pastor, if you will come up, please. Thank you, sir.
Let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, grateful for the freedoms that we have in this country to meet in a venue such as this, Father, a public forum where ideas can be presented, Father, where complaints can be addressed, where problems can be solved. We thank you that we have the freedom to do these things and to enjoy the wisdom of elected officials. And so, Father, we ask you for understanding tonight. We know that you are already aware of the things that transpired in the last hour, and we know that you are actually already have an understanding of the things that will take place in this next hour or so. And so, Father, our request to you tonight is that you would give wisdom to those who have decisions to make, as votes need to be cast, as discussions need to be had, as questions need to be asked, and as discernment needs to be displayed. Father, we ask that you give wisdom to these folks, and I pray, Lord, that you would use them as they direct the focus of our city. And Lord, I pray that constantly before their eyes would be the welfare of our community. We know they desire the best for our community, and I pray that that would be obvious tonight. I pray that that would be seen tonight. Father, we pray that you would protect them, keep them safe, Father. And we know that Satan would desire to sow discord and chaos and disharmony among our community. And so, Father, we pray and thank you for our protective services, Father. We thank you for our police and for our fire departments, Father, for our emergency services, Father, for those who keep a lookout and make sure that we're protected and cared for. We thank you for the work that they do. We thank you for the hazard that they put their lives in each day to serve people. And so, Father, we bring all these things together tonight and just ask that you would have your will and way in these proceedings. Father, I pray that you would give discernment and understanding and wisdom even to those of us out here in the crowd, in the gallery here, Lord, that we would display maturity, that we would display understanding, that we would also desire the best for our community, understanding that these folks in front of us can make decisions, but we have to be a part of the process of helping to enact these things and to do well. So, Father, we want to do well, and so we ask for your help tonight, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of regular City Council meetings on August 28th, 2018, 5:30 p.m., August 28th, 2018, 6:30 p.m., September 25th, 2018, 5:30 p.m., September 25th, 2018, 6:30 p.m., and October 9th, 2018.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I see none. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next item, special recognitions and presentations. I think we have done all of those. So we'll move on to item 6, boards and commissions.
Municipal Code Enforcement Board, the terms of regular members Ashley Edens and Rami Grant expire on 31 October 2018. Ms. Edens and Mr. Grant have expressed their willingness and desire to continue to serve on this board and have requested reappointment for 3-year terms to expire on 31 October 2020. Their applications are part of your packet. There are currently no other applications on file for your consideration.
I will accept the motion.
Move to reappoint Ashley Edens and Rami Grant to the Municipal Code Enforcement Board.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I see none. All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next item, sir.
Planning and Zoning Commission member attendance. The purpose of this request is to satisfy Section 2-53, removal of members for Code of Ordinances by the City of Titusville. Based on attendance records of the past 6 months of 2018, Mr. John Chambers has been absent for 4 consecutive regularly scheduled meetings from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Chambers was present at the 3 October 2018 meeting, at which time the Commission requested the absence be waived by Council due to health reasons, which prevented Mr. Chambers from attending. Action that's requested is to allow Mr. Chambers to continue serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Attached is the Planning and Zoning Commission attendance memorandum written by the Chair and the attendance records. Staff recommends that you approve to waive the absences for the Planning and Zoning Commission regular member, Mr. John Chambers.
Do I have a motion?
Actually, I have a question before we get that far. I've noticed that he has actually missed 6 meetings since January, I believe it is. And my question is, do we believe that he is going to be able to fulfill his duties regarding planning and zoning?
We do.
Or is it?
He had some health issues. He's fine.
Okay. In that case, I would make the motion to waive the absences for P&Z Commissioner Regular Member John Chambers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item, sir.
Historic Preservation Board, the terms of regular members Dennis Jonas, engineer, resident Deborah Petek, realtor property appraisal resident, will expire on 31 October 2018. Regular members Jonas and Petek have expressed their willingness and desire to continue to serve on this board as regular members for another 2-year term expiring on 31 October 2020. There are currently no other applications on file for your consideration. Staff recommends you reappoint the 2 members to the Historic Preservation Board with terms to expire on 31 October 2020.
Do I have a motion?
I move to reappoint members Dennis Jonas and Deborah Petek to the Historic Preservation Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Clerk, would you read? I don't think I asked you this before. Clerk, please read the procedures for public speaking. I think I forgot to say that.
Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card and present it to the clerk prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions and requests, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Sign-up and oath cards are located on the table at the side of the council chamber here. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items.
Thank you, Clerk. The next item is petitions and requests from the public present. Would anybody like to speak at this point? I see none. We'll go on to the consent agenda. City Manager.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items A through I. And Council, are there any items that you would like to pull?
I see none.
We have 1 card for item C, so I will read for the record items A, B, and D through I for the record. Consent agenda item 8A, accept the biennial administrative waiver report. Consent agenda item 8B, adopt resolution 28/2018 approving and authorizing the execution of community aesthetics features CAF agreement for wrapping of 8 traffic signaling boxes with vinyl art wraps. Consent agenda item 8D, approve the right-of-way use agreement with West 50 Plaza LLC for replacement of signs in the median of South Helen Hauser Boulevard based on the final approval of the city attorney. Consent agenda item 8E, accept Clean Vessels Act grant agreement with the state of Florida Department of Environmental Protection in the amount of $28,125 for the operation and maintenance of the marina's pump-out boat, and authorize the city or his designee to execute the grant agreement. In addition, approve the budget amendment recognizing the grant revenues of $28,125 and the city's match of $9,375. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the award of work order WPWR 003 to Wright Pierce Incorporated of Orlando, Florida, in the amount of $164,808 to provide engineering consulting services, including but not limited to preparation, design, drawings, and specifications, permitting bidding assistance, and construction administrative services for the Causeway Lift Station improvement, and authorize the mayor to execute the work order. Consent agenda item 8G, approve the award of contract bid 18B067 to Grigori Construction of Titusville, Florida for the immediate repairs of the Bayview Lift Station in the amount of $73,400 and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. Consent agenda item 8H, approve change order number 1 in the amount of $32,000 to contract 15B005 with dedicated transport for lime slurry residual hauling and disposal, and authorize the city manager to execute the change order. Consent agenda item 8I, approve a blanket purchase agreement in the amount of $65,000 with Brevard County to fund disposal costs at the county's landfill and add Brevard County to the city's vendor of record list, and authorize the city manager to put the necessary instruments in place to complete this process. There are resolutions in here, sir, so you will need a roll call.
Okay. We have one card, but we have one item pulled. We have a card on that?
Yes, sir, for item 8C. Elizabeth Adams.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the records, and if you will push that button down there, that red light should come on. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I would just like to ask you to approve.
If I may, name and address.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth Adams.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say that?
Here in Titusville.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you to approve the advisability to adopt a scope of work to develop a multimodal transportation master plan. It is very important that we're able to move people on bicycles, on foot, in vehicles, and in public transportation, not just in our city, but in our county and everywhere that people want to go. For the Titusville of tomorrow, we need multimodal transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. There are no other items that have been pulled, correct, clerk?
Correct, sir.
Thank you. City Attorney, the next item is the,
Sir, you'll need to,
oh, we didn't take a vote.
yeah, you'll need to vote. The items are A through H, and you will need a roll call, sir.
I'd move.
Correction, aye.
Thank you. I'm on the medication for a cold. I think I'm a little foggy. Yes, okay. We'll ask for a motion on that.
Move to approve. God dang, you have me going.
It's catching.
Move to approve consent agenda items A through I.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any part of it? All those in favor say, oh, sorry, there I go again. Roll call vote, please, clerk.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Passes unanimously. Next item.
Next item is first reading and first public hearing of ordinance number 50, 2018, height overlay. Ordinance number 50, 2018, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances to create a height overlay to increase maximum building heights in specified areas by creating Chapter 29 Special Districts and Overlays, specifically creating Article 9 Height Overlay, Sections 29-160 through Sections 29-164, and amending Chapter 37 Definitions, 37.1 Definitions to add definitions relating to height, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
This is your first reading and first public hearing. The second reading and final public hearing is scheduled for the regular City Council meeting on 13 November 2018. The Planning and Zoning Commission will consider this ordinance at their meeting on November 7, 2018. Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions council may have on this ordinance.
Any comments from you, Ms. Busaka?
No, I just want to make some very brief comments. This proposed overlay basically affects two portions of the city as proposed. It is advertised in such a way that should council wish to change those boundaries, that can be done in this ordinance. The current overlay is east of US 1, north of Buffalo Road to the city limits, and State Road 50 south, excluding the area adjacent to River Edge Drive. So basically, it starts a small portion of the area east of US 1, south of Cheney, until you get to River Edge Drive, excluding that area until you get down to Antigua Bay, and then south to the city limits. The proposal is that properties abutting single-family residential uses will be limited to no more than 35 feet higher than the abutting home. Typically, the maximum density in the maximum height in single family is 35 feet, but not all homes are built to that height. Multifamily and commercial properties are limited to 6 stories or 75 feet. When the ordinance was written many years ago, a story was about 10 feet. As you know, ceilings are getting higher, so this allows those higher ceilings that we're seeing in new developments. Multi-use developments, which include both commercial and residential, would be able to have additional height if they provide public access to the Indian River Lagoon, and if the lower floor is developed for commercial use. In addition to that, we are proposing a transitional plane so that if there are structures which are higher than 50 feet, once they get to 50 feet, then there is a 45-degree angle so that you see, it's a little bit like, I guess, a wedding cake would be a good explanation, where you wouldn't see these monolithic buildings, but you would see ones that get to 50 feet and then have some angle to them. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions from Ms. Busaka? Member Stokel?
Yep. Is there a reason that you guys selected these particular boundaries? And then 2, are you looking into other areas as well and just starting with these pieces to begin with?
Yes, ma'am, that is what we were thinking. We were trying to look at areas that didn't have as much mixed uses or were planned more like Antigua Bay or Riverfront Center. And we thought that that would be an easier area to discuss this. And then as we went through the individual corridors or areas with more mixed use, we would look at those. As you know, we're doing the comprehensive plan, and you'll be seeing those type of discussions in the future. But as I said, this has been advertised in such a way that this overlay can be put in any area of the city.
So are you guys kind of seeing this as a trial run to see how it goes?
We are.
Okay.
Because we have not discussed a lot of these in much detail with council. We did have that workshop, but we were just broadly discussing issues. So we felt like this was a good way to try out these issues because of the reduction of conflicts, because there aren't a lot of mixed uses in those areas.
Oh, and then my last question, are we notifying residents within this area of this ordinance should they want to speak on this item or no?
We have not.
Okay.
But if that's council's direction, we certainly can between now and November 13th.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? I see none. I'll open the oops, I see one. I hear one.
I would just only say that I'd rather notify them than have us act and then have people come back to us. I'd rather be able to just sit down and discuss it with them up front. That would be my choice.
Other councilman comment?
Anytime it's a, not dispute, but a thought about communicating or not communicating, I would communicate, but I'd also defer to staff and Ms. Busak on not being overreactionary, because I'm not as familiar with this as you are. So I don't want to just do something to do it. If this is the appropriate thing to do, then I want to do it.
Actually, Antigua Bay has a development agreement, and they have both 75 and 100-foot development standards already. And those are, and the other area north of that, south of that, is the Riverfront Center, where their standards are actually that which is required under the county's code of uses, and there are some specific height requests in that area because they have wanted to put in some hotels. Okay. The area to the north of Buffalo Road is largely the college, the right, the hospital. The idea of notifying what is relatively small number of people and asking them to call staff and answer any questions, we'd be delighted to do that.
Then I would think that's a good idea. Again, I just don't want to be that guy that becomes redundant and says, look, I don't need that. So
no, we're happy
good.
to do that.
Thank you.
Any comments? That's good to me. You have a consensus. Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
Yes, sir. Rodney Honeycutt.
Mr. Honeycutt, if you'd like to come up. Name and address for the record, sir. You've done this enough, probably knew that.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I'm glad to see this on your agenda.
You're getting as bad as me, Rodney. Name and address.
Oh, yeah, Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue. And I'm glad to see this on your agenda. As you know, I'm working with Kenny Point Hotel Marina. You probably know about that project. And so we've reviewed this, and there's probably there's a couple of areas that we could use some help or clarification. The new ordinance, proposed ordinance, says that you could have, I think it's 10 stories or 120 feet height, whichever is greater. And originally the project was a little more than that, but Mr. Oliver's worked on it, and we can work within that 10 stories and the 120 feet. However, it also says that you have the transitional height. And from our south border, which is a park, if you use that height plane, then we could only have 110 feet. And so we would like to adjust that some way where we could still have the 120 feet height. And so maybe we could work with staff to develop something on that.
Council, if I may hold on for a second. Council have any problems with that?
No, I'd like to see that.
Okay, staff, will you look into that, please?
So then another, the actual ordinance, proposed ordinance says, mixed use, which may include a minimum of 2 uses such as multifamily, commercial, and hotel, which provide, and then it says either, public access along the entirety of the Indian River Lagoon shoreline, but it don't say or, it says and, in which the lower floor is developed for commercial use. Well, we want to provide public access along the entire shoreline, no question. Our lower floor is a parking garage, and after discussion with staff, a parking garage is not a commercial use. Our second floor is actually the commercial use. And so we would like, if in fact we have to meet both of those, the and overrides the either, then we would like some consideration that the lower could be a commercial use, or parking could be the lower floor also in addition to commercial use.
Council, do we have anyone objection?
No objection.
Staff, will you look into that one?
That's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're very eager to get a development agreement in because we still have some issues such as the shoreline protection area where the garage is. we don't quite meet that setback or the impervious, but we have things to offer. I don't think that was 5 minutes.
Well, you have another 30 seconds.
But we have things to offer to offset that I think that are very good. The hotel structure doesn't meet the setback because we have an overhang of 30 feet. And so that's just a technicality. The lower floor exceeds that setback. So we're going to have something about that in the development agreement. And then the breezeway, we have an elevated walkway that takes up a good portion of the project from the proposed parking garage to the hotel. So we want to kind of see if that can't count as a breezeway. All these things will be in a development agreement. I'm just letting you know that we're kind of coming forward with those things pretty soon for you to think.
Okay. We'll be anxious to see it.
Okay. Thank you very
sir.
much.
Next item. Where are we?
Next item is 9B, which is
Hey,
ordinance
yes.
number 51, 2018, screened porches. This is the first reading and first public hearing. Ordinance number 51, 2018, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 28 zoning, Sections 28-342 accessory use table, and Section 28-353 attached screen porch to designate attached screen porches as a permitted accessory use and specified zoning classifications, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
This is the first reading and public hearing. The second reading and final hearing is scheduled for the regular City Council meeting on 13 November 2018. The Planning and Zoning Commission will consider this ordinance at their meeting on November 7, 2018. Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions that you may have on this, your first reading of ordinance number 51, 2018.
Any comments?
I just wanted to comment, this is a scrivener's error, and we're making a correction so we think this is easy.
I think this is easy. That's good to hear. Council, any questions of Ms. Busaka? I see none. I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, do we have any cards on this?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. This is the first reading, so we don't need a vote. Next items, C.
Yes, sir. Next item is 9C, which is small-scale amendment for 2018 for San Mateo Village. This small-scale amendment encompasses 3 ordinances, ordinance number 47, 48, 49. I will read all 3 ordinances at this time. An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending ordinance number 60, 1988, which adopted the comprehensive plan of the City of Titusville by changing the land use designation on approximately 0.44 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Sisson Road and San Mateo Boulevard, having a parcel ID number 22, 35, 27 AV, 89.03, by replacing the planned unit development future land use designation to the medium-density residential future land use designation and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 48, 2018. An ordinance amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by replacing the present planned unit development zoning PUDZ zoning district with the residential manufactured housing RMH1 zoning district on approximately 0.44 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Sisson Road and San Mateo Boulevard, having a parcel ID number of 22, 35, 27 AV, 89.03, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 49, 2018, an ordinance amending ordinance number 57, 2006 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the conditions of approval of said ordinance for the planned unit development zoning PUDZ zoning district on approximately 0.44 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Sisson Road and San Mateo Boulevard, having a parcel ID number 22, 35, 27 AV, 89.03, and providing for an effective date.
The applicant is requesting a small-scale amendment and rezoning to allow the creation of an additional lot for a mobile home within San Mateo Village subdivision. The proposed lot will be accessed via San Mateo Boulevard. The 0.44 acre property is currently developed as a parking lot and entrance signage for San Mateo Village. The new lot will be required to connect to water and sewer, which are available in San Mateo Boulevard. This small-scale amendment is approved. The owner must proceed through the lot split process to create a new lot for the mobile home lot. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this action 6-0. An additional motion was approved on the ordinance amending the conditions of the approval of said ordinance for the planned unit development zoning, PUDZ zoning district, to remove the requested condition number 2, but add a new condition that the parking area will consist of a minimum of 20 spaces deeded to the San Mateo Home Owners Association.
Okay. Let me see. We're going through these one at a time, so I think we should pull the cards on these.
You'll need to open the public hearing, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I open the public hearing. Are there any cards on this item?
Yes, sir. One card was submitted. Melvin Hemmer.
Sir, if you'll come forth. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Yes, 345 San Mateo Village, San Mateo Boulevard, Titusville, Florida, 32780.
Thank you, sir.
I'm currently the second vice president of the HOA there. And I just fill out the card in case there was any questions that the committee had.
Council, any questions? I see none.
No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's get, I'm on the wrong page here. Okay, open public hearing. I'll close the public hearing. Council discussion. Any discussion on this item? I see none. I'll accept a motion.
First reading.
I'm sorry?
First reading.
Oh,
I think it's a second.
no, it's
It's
second
the
reading.
second reading.
Yeah, this is a
I
second
said
and
second.
final.
Yeah, I had a question. This is for maybe Ms. Busaka. Do you know this added motion that they had regarding the 20 spaces, what that came from?
Yes. First of all, let me give you a little bit of a history.
Okay.
San Mateo Village was originally intended to be twice the size that it is. And so the entire property that now encompasses San Mateo Village and Forest Trace was originally zoned for mobile homes. At some point, the people, the developer of San Mateo Village decided not to go forward with any further mobile home development and came in for a rezoning on the Forest Trace property. At that time, this little piece of property that the parking lot's on was part of that San Mateo Village. So Forest Trace. So when Forest Trace was adopted, the requirement was that that property be given over to San Mateo. And that was being used then as a parking area. So the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to make sure that that area would continue to function as parking for the clubhouse and common area that's right across the street.
Can it still do that?
Yes, ma'am. There is
Okay.
time for, yes, ma'am. There is adequate property to put a buildable lot and still keep their parking.
So you don't see any issues with that?
No, and
Okay.
I've spoken to the gentleman who just spoke, and he said they fully intend to keep that as
Okay.
parking. So I think that it's just a matter of going through the lot split process.
Perfect. Okay,
And,
thank
and
you.
I would just say one other thing, that the staff has reviewed this and found it to be consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Perfect.
Council, you'll vote on these separately.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Busaka, that condition, is that attached to ordinance 49, the PUDZ? Well, the condition says that this is regarding the PUDZ.
Yes, sir. It is.
So
That's right.
when they approve 49, that's when they'll discuss the condition.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? I'll ask for a motion.
I'd move to approve small-scale amendment 4-2018. Well, wait a minute. I'd move to approve ordinance number 47-2018, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending ordinance number 60-1988.
May I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please, clerk.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Member Stockel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Passes unanimously. Next item, the ordinance 48-18, 2018.
Move to approve ordinance number 48-2018, amending the zoning map for San Mateo.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
I didn't have a public hearing, so we need to do that. Do we have a comment?
The public hearing is open to all.
I thought I just did it on the first one, sorry. All right, roll call vote, please, clerk.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Member Stockel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. Next item.
Move to approve ordinance number 49-2018 with the conditions as set out.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. We'll open the public hearing. Are there any cards on this item?
The earlier card from Mr. Hemmer.
But
Yes, sir. Your public hearing is complete, so you just need to take a roll call.
I'm sorry.
vote.
I've never done three in a row, three at the same time before. I guess it's got me kind of confused.
Right, and I just want to clarify, when you said the conditions as set out, is the conditions as provided by plan and zoning that staff pointed out, correct?
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please, clerk.
Yes, sir. Member Stockel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes, passes unanimously. Item 10A, first reading.
Yes, sir. Item 10A is first reading of ordinance number 52, 2018, storage of materials. Ordinance number 52, 2018, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by establishing a time frame for storage of materials and equipment on site prior to commencement of permitted land development activities, by amending Chapter 30 Development Standards, specifically amending Sections 3021 General Provisions and 3083 Prohibition, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
The code does not currently limit the storage of material and equipment on a site prior to the commencement of permitted development activity. With the recent increase in development, it's become apparent that regulations are needed to reduce safety and visual impacts related to construction materials and equipment being stored on site. The proposed ordinance would limit storage of material and equipment for no longer than 30 days prior to the commencement of the permitted activity. This is your first reading of Ordinance 52, 2018.
Mr. Sacre, any comments? None. Council, any questions of staff? Open the public hearing. Are there any cards on this item, clerk?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. There is no, this first reading, so there is no vote necessary. Next item, please.
Next item is 10B, ordinance number 53, 2018, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 28 zoning, Sections 28307, multifamily high-density residential R3, and Section 3151, projections, fences, and walls, to permit specific structures to project into required principal structure setbacks, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
Based upon a request from several citizens, council approved advisability to develop an ordinance that would permit certain structures to project into setbacks in the R3 zoning district. The proposed ordinance would permit elevated decks and open porches of townhouses within the R3 zoning district to project into the rear yard setbacks, which is about a major water body or a common area. Open stairs, fire escapes, and chimneys on townhouses may project no more than 4 feet into the required side or rear yard setback. A map depicting the two current townhome developments that could be affected by this proposed ordinance is part of your packet. This is your first reading of ordinance number 53, 2018, and Ms. Busaka is available to answer questions that council may have.
Ms. Busaka, no comments. Council, any questions of Ms. Busaka? I hear none. I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
Yes, sir. Robin Taylor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Robin Taylor, 4997 River Edge Drive, Titusville, Florida. Building department had approved us doing an extension on our townhouse, and we were approved to build a screened porch. In addition, extending beyond the original footprint of the property. We did that with the railing on top to accommodate, access out onto the roof because we're not allowed to call it a balcony. The porch requires a 10-foot setback from the property line. If you can, you probably can't see this, but there's the porch extended out here. What we want to do is put a balcony on the third floor, which is directly over the second floor balcony, porch roof, whatever you call it. So we are asking you to approve this so we could do the balcony. A balcony requires a 25-foot setback, even though it's over the existing structure. So this ordinance would allow us to add the third floor balcony. This has already been done by about 5 units in the complex, and the 2 smallest lots in our complex have done this. They're only 5 feet from it's probably more like 10 feet from the shoreline. We are 30 feet from the shoreline. So we ask that you approve this. I have several people here. I have about 4 more that are on their way, but because I was trying to keep them waiting for the extensive meeting. But there's already several that have added on. This is what we look like right now. And this is what we should look like right here if we have our balconies. I have the the second floor balcony, but I do not have the third floor, as you can see in this picture. Can you see where I have my second floor balcony, but I have nothing on the top? And being on the river, you can see where where we're enjoying our view of the river. So, I mean, this is part of this is the only reason I bought the complex, was to be on the river and have that view. So we are asking you to approve this, and I have 3 so far that have shown up in support of this. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I see the pictures?
Any questions?
Can I see the pictures? Sorry.
Okay, she'll give them to you.
This is the drawing
Okay.
of what we have and what's proposed. This is the view from my patio. This is what it's supposed to be.
This is what you, yeah.
And this is,
So this is the idea of what you're
yes,
looking to
we
do.
want to come back into conformity. We've been brought
Okay.
out of conformity, and this is my unit right
Okay.
here.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sunrise.
I bet. Yeah. We got it.
Ms. Busaka, does this ordinance cover all of those?
To the best of my understanding, we met with Ms. Taylor and a number of other members of her community. We asked them to review the language, and to my knowledge, it meets their requirements. Is that not correct?
Yes, it does. There's one more thing I want to say.
I wouldn't say too much more if I were you.
2 seconds. The third floor balcony would provide an escape if there's a fire, because at the bottom of the second floor steps, it's right at the kitchen. You would not be able to get off the third floor without that balcony.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on this, or have a card in, rather?
No, sir, no other cards.
Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. Council?
It was just
It's your first reading.
No, it is first
no
reading.
vote tonight.
Then you don't have to have all those people anyway. It's only the first reading. Nothing happens till next time. Next item is old business. We have no old business. New business.
Park Preserve is a residential subdivision consisting of 38 single-family homes on 28.5 acres. The development is located south of Park Avenue and west of Knox-McRae Drive. On 12 July 2016, City Council approved the sketch plat. Subsequently, the engineering and preliminary plat was approved administratively, and the permit for construction of the infrastructure was issued on 14 July 2017. The final plat meets all code requirements, with the exception of the required bond and payments of sidewalk infill to the trust fund. Staff recommends approval of the final plat and declaration of covenances for Park Preserves, subject to receipt of the following prior to the recording of the final plat. Number one, submittal and approval of all required bonds per LDR Section 34-173, and two, payment into the city sidewalk trust fund in lieu of constructing a sidewalk along South Park Avenue per LDR Section 30-238. Ms. Bisacca is available to answer any questions that you may have on this, the final approval of the Park Preserve plat.
Okay. Council, any questions of Ms. Bisacca? Do you have any comments, firstly? Council, any questions of Ms. Bisacca? I see no lights. I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. Council discussion. I ask for a motion.
It's been a long time coming, but I would move to approve the final plat and declaration of covenants for Park Preserve, subject to the receipt of the following prior to the recording of the final plat, submittal and approval of all required bonds, and payment into the City Sidewalk Trust Fund in lieu of constructing the sidewalk along South Park Avenue.
I have a motion, and we've had a lot of discussions on this one, haven't we? And I will accept the second. Huh?
I think we beat it to death.
That horse may be not breathing anymore. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next item is petitions and requests from the public. Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak at this time? Please come forth. You're welcome. That's always good to hear, by the way. Okay, next item is mayor and council reports. I have, you have my written report. Anybody from council that would like to make a report?
I have just kind of a follow-up, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
I attended, as last time was noted, we got the Rick Harris Certificate of Appreciation, and I attended and was honored to present that to him, among many other speakers, at the Kyler Park Community Center. I believe it was the same night as the Paris Gala, so some of you were unavailable, I'm sure. But it was an outstanding event, and I just want to say how much Rick appreciated that, and just pretty amazed by that. And then on the next day, Sunday, I was fortunate enough to make the New Life celebration of Pastor and Mrs. Linkus, their 50th wedding anniversary at New Life, which meant their 50th year of ministry and the 35th year of the New Life building itself. And just very impressive. Pretty exciting. Sometimes if you just need a good news weekend, I feel like I had it at Kyler Park with Rick Harrison, 50 years. I will say I was very amazed when he spoke. He spoke about how when he was hired, and I think I'm going to get the year exactly right, but it was the mid-60s. He was part of the African American recreation part, meaning that it wasn't even together then. The white recreation with the black recreation, and I was like, wow. And so anyway, that's how far back he goes, and it was just a very special night, as was the Sunday gathering at New Life. So I just thought I'd share that. It was just a good news weekend.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to attend that, but I was, no, it's just I was in bed for most of the weekend, other than one funeral I attended, so. Okay.
Can I add?
Yes, certainly.
Can I add good news?
Certainly.
So while I wasn't around, they started on the Carter House. Lowe's sent over 30 volunteers
Oh, great.
to attack that house. And in one day, I mean, they did an excellent job. And I did tell the general contractor I thought we needed to stay out of their way because they were going to run us over. So we have our house, we're working on it. After the breakfast, we have $250,000 in cash and pledges to start a Boys and Girls Club, so we're there.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful
We're
news.
almost there.
Congratulations. And I want
Yeah.
to give you a round of applause. I know how hard you've worked on this. And
I think I just had a hard head. I just kept hitting that wall and going,
hitting your head against it?
yeah.
Don't run too fast, okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, a couple things. One, Member Nelson and I did attend that parish gala, which was amazing, and just to see how much support and awareness and funds were raised for mental health, and people were talking about it, just made me really excited. Also wanted to remind you guys, November 12th, we're hosting the Florida League of Cities dinner, so hopefully you guys can attend. Yeah, it'll be at Dixie Crossroads, so you guys better attend.
Very good. Next, any other item? Anybody else have any report? No? City manager?
Yes, sir. No action items. Two informational items. First is on the information on post office locations within our city and the establishment and closure procedures therefore within, and the staff's semi-annual report is provided for council. In the format is successes, challenges, and some recommendations. Also is your schedule of events. November gets very busy with the swearing in of the new council. You see the dates there. Good news is after that meeting, you only have one for the rest of the year, which will be in December. And then included with your hard copy is the legislative priorities that Member Stokel asked for us to bring forward to you. Currently, council, your last year, you had two legislative priorities. The first, of course, is to restoration of the Indian River Lagoon, and second is support of commercial space. So if there's anything you'd like to add to your legislative priorities that Member Stokel could take forward, or keep these two as your legislative priorities.
Anyone like to add anything?
I sort of thought that maybe we should look at vocational programs for our kids because our job market is changing, and so not only our kids need it, but our adults need it, so that they are able to go into a different role as future jobs come around, evolve.
Are you looking at the college, Eastern Florida, or are you thinking more for the high schools?
Both.
Both, okay.
And I think especially here, we have so many high-tech jobs coming in, and you know, as certain jobs phase out, you know, these people need to have the skill set to go out to do the new jobs. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I got to tell you, I look at some of the new jobs, and I think I'm fairly well educated. Rich is looking like maybe not. I still have that Juris Doctorate. But I look at the new jobs, and I'm just floored. I'm not sure if I would know how to do some of those new jobs. And so I look at the people who are behind me, who are 40, 50, and if their jobs are phased out, then they need to be able to enter a new job market.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say, I would digress back to our previous discussion on this, and that is where the mayor has met with the superintendent, Mark Mullins, and then I would say get EFSC involved as well, but I think their focus, their continual focus is on the future jobs and changes, and I'm sure I can do fewer jobs than you. You're absolutely right, and it just amazes me, even when I was going into some of these CTE classes and the things they were doing, especially when it came to IT and those sort of things. It's like, wow, I'm glad I have 3 sons that know how to do that, and I call them and say, come over.
No.
But that being said, I think that, the good start there was Mayor's discussion with the school superintendent, and then anything you can do with the FSC is a positive as well.
Now, this is for legislative priorities, so does that,
We're talking funding.
so you are talking funding for that program? Is there
For additional
any more
funding?
specifics on it?
I don't think we can be totally specific, but we're looking at, if we're sitting there talking about what things are going to be funded, then I would say vocational training, in order to get the workers where they need to be, is something that needs to be emphasized either through the colleges or Career Source. I know they're doing that, but up in Tallahassee, they tend to take a hatchet every now and then to programs, and I think those programs are important.
Anything we can do to push that, I would certainly agree, but I would also digress back to that EFSC, and certainly I'm more familiar with Brevard Public Schools, is pushing that aspect, especially in the CTE and job training, and it just all comes down to what the state legislature is willing to do for us.
Yep.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is
That's good.
council would like to add a third legislative priority, which is supporting additional or vocational training. Is that what I'm hearing, or?
I think I would say supporting
Jobs tomorrow.
continued support for vocational training.
Okay. Council agree to all that, and we'll add that as
Council,
one of our
does everybody
priorities.
agree? Have consensus? If there are any questions, I'm sure you can
Yes, sir.
work the details out.
Second add-on item.
Wait 1 second, we have one more light, I think, Member Stokel.
Mine was just in reference to the semi-annual report from city manager. Thank you for doing this. Like, this was very helpful for me to read through. I would encourage, I think as we go into getting ready to start the budget process all over again pretty soon here in the coming months, this would be really helpful to look at when we're going through those strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, just seeing the real day-to-day kind of challenges of some of these things that we may not have direct access to was very helpful for me to kind of go through them. So if we could potentially have this back up, I plan to bring it again, but maybe during that training time just to kind of refresh and look at that again.
You bet. Great idea.
And thank you for doing this.
Okay. Sir?
Next is an add-on that I'd like to commend the Titusville Police Department on 2 areas and thank Just Parish Medical Foundation. Titusville Police Department continues to receive equipment and training on individual first aid kits, IFAK, and specialized training on their use. These kits include tactical tourniquets and a myriad of life-saving tools and equipment. This is a great partnership between Parish Medical Center and the Just Parish Medical Foundation that provides equipment to our officers and the necessary training that they have for life-saving. So just like to applaud the great partnership with Parish and our Titusville Police Department. Second, I'd like to recognize our K-9 team, which won first place at the inaugural Space Coast Police K-9 competition. Jack, Scooby, Chase, and Draco, accompanied by officers Cantalupo, Sanchez, Tyler Glenn, and Jesse Langenfield are the handlers of these wonderful K-9 officers. And the competition was fierce, but we smoked them. So congratulations to Titusville Department.
Please pass that along.
2 things. And last, a long-established business in our city, which is very unique, but it's a worldwide provider of fly fish equipment and materials, Renzetti's Fly Fish Fishing and Rod. They've supported several fishing events and children, youth, and training, and the company would like a proclamation from council to recognize their lifelong commitment to the city. So with your permission, we'd like to prepare a proclamation for the mayor to sign and get it to them prior to their December scheduled event. So we're really proud to do this. I think if you've not visited that manufacturer, it's a great thing. And when you talk to people that actually fly fish and you say Renzetti, everybody knows what it means.
Yeah, they're known all over the world, and they've been doing this for many, many years, and very successful at it. They've got a great company.
So I assume that's a consensus
Yes,
that you
we
would
have
like to do
consensus
that?
for it? Yes.
Okay, and that concludes my portion. I think city attorney has one item
Yes,
for
sir.
your consideration.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, sir. At the City Council meeting on September 25th, the council requested information regarding the city's ability to impose a bed or tourist tax on hotels and utilizing those funds to develop and market trails within the city. I provided you a memorandum in your package to address that. Then the memo, it advises you, first, the city can only levy those taxes that are authorized by general law, which means by constitution or by state statute. The only general law that was enacted to allow cities to impose a local option transient rental tax, resort tax, was the municipal resort tax created in 1967 that was specific to certain populations. However, to impose that, you had to have a charter that allowed that by 1968. Only 3 cities imposed that municipal resort tax: Miami Beach, Bal Harbor, and Surfside. However, statute 125.014 allows the county to levy a tourist or resort tax on all short-term residential rental charges countywide. So that is the current transit tax that is imposed, and there is no law to allow you to impose a municipal resort tax on top of that tax at this time.
Thank you for researching that. Has anybody any questions on that? No questions. With that, unless someone has something else they want to add at this point, I will call this meeting adjourned.